Shalom, shalom, everyone. Today we're going to continue on with our Hebrew word studies in Ephesians 5:19, speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master. And before we get started, we'll just take a minute to pray. Yah, I just ask you, Father, that for each and every one of us today, that you would show us those places that are hard in our hearts, those places that need to be soft for you, Yah. Cause us to know, Yah, those things that are still rooted in us, Father, that need to be pulled up and thrown out, Father. I ask, Yah, that you fill each and every one of us with more depths of understanding of the beauty of who you are. In Yeshua's name. Hallelujah. So continuing on from part 1, we are now actually on the word songs, G5603. We can see it there in the Greek. It's ode or ode from G103, a chant or ode, the general term for any words sung, while 5215 denotes especially a religious metrical composition, and 5568 still more specifically a Hebrew cantillation. We see that our word is found in Exodus 15:1, Ode, G5603. Looking in the Hebrew, we see that goes to the English word song, which is H7892. In the Strongs, we see that it's a shin, a yod, and a resh. The second form of these two words here being feminine from 7891, a song, abstractly singing. Tracing it back to the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we see that it goes to 1480 mn, sh'ar, there on the bottom. We see from right to left the shin, the yod, and the resh. A song. We see at the M that it's the same shin, yod, resh. The action is to sing, the concrete is music. A stringed musical instrument uses thin chords for making music. At the two-letter root, the shin and the resh, the action is tie, the concrete is chord. The pictograph shin is a picture of the teeth representing pressure. The resh is a picture of a head representing the top or beginning. Combined, these mean press the beginning. Ropes and cords were usually made of bark strips, such as from the cedar or from the sinew tendon of an animal. The rope is made by twisting two fibers together. A single fiber is attached to a fixed position at the top, and the two ends of the fiber are brought together. One fiber is twisted in a clockwise direction and wrapped over the other fiber in a counterclockwise direction. The second fiber is then twisted in a clockwise direction, then wrapped around the first fiber in a counterclockwise direction. The process is repeated through the length of the rope. The twisting of the fibers in opposite directions causes the fibers to press onto each other, making a stronger rope. The rope is used to tightly secure or support something, such as a load to a cart or the poles of a tent. This is also the same root line where we find the remnant. We will find the remnant singing this song. We will find them being pressed back by the right-hand power of Yah, the one who sits at the right-hand power of Yah, that is the right-hand power of Yah, that is the strength, the power, and authority of Yah, being pressed back to how they were in the beginning. So before moving on to some scriptures, let's look at the word singing. It is the G103, which we previously saw that our G5603 comes from. We find it in Exodus 15:1. There you can see it at the G103, and in the Hebrew we see it goes to 7891, which our Hebrew word 7892 came from. We see it's the same exact word. It's the shin, the yod, and the resh. We can see down at the bottom of this page that the Strong's definition, it's a primitive root, and it's to sing. Again, we're going back to the same root line. This time we are just looking at the V, which is the verb. Actually, these are both the very same word. They're both the shin, the yod, and the resh. So let's turn to Psalm 57, one of the many places that this word is used, and just read through it to just get some context on it. Then we'll go back and we will kind of pull it apart and see how it relates to this remnant who is singing spiritual songs. Psalm 57, verse 1. Show me favor, O Elohim, show me favor. For in you my being is taking refuge, and in the shadow of your wings I take refuge, until destruction passes by. I cry out to the Most High Elohim, the El who is perfecting all for me. He sends from the heavens and saves me. He reproaches the one who would swallow me up. Selah. Elohim sends forth his loving commitment and his truth. My being is in the midst of lions. I lie among those who breathe fire, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue is a sharp sword. Be exalted, O Elohim, above the heavens. Let your esteem be above all the earth. They have prepared a net for my footsteps. My being was bowed down. They have dug a pit before me. They fell into the midst of it. Selah. My heart is firm, O Elohim. My heart is firm. I sing praise. Awake, my esteem. Awake, harp and lyre. I awake the dawn. I praise you among the peoples, O Yah. I sing to you among the nations. For your loving commitment is great, up to the heavens, and your truth unto the clouds. Be exalted above the heavens, O Elohim. Let your esteem be above all the earth. And so now we'll go ahead and we'll kind of break this down. So now we're going to, as I like to say, pull this psalm apart and put it back together in connection and reference to us, who we are and what we are to be speaking to each other in these spiritual songs, the singing of these spiritual songs to the brethren. So let's start with verse 1. Show me favor, O Elohim, show me favor, for in you my being is taking refuge, and in the shadow of your wings I take refuge until destruction passes by. We see refuge at Strong's H2620, chasa, a primitive root to flee for protection, figuratively to confide in. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we find it at 1176 HV. The V is refuge, to take refuge, or place one's trust in one or a thing of support. We see that the H, it's the concrete, is a refuge, and at the two-letter root, the het sin, we see the action is support and the concrete is refuge, a place of support or trust. From right to left, we see our letters are a het, a sin, and a hey, and we have the definitions of what those letters mean there on the screen. So the first thing I want to point out is that we take refuge in or under the shadow of his wings. This is the same thing we see in Psalm 91, where we take refuge under the shadow of the wings of the high priest's priestly garment. The kanaf, actually that's where the tzitzit hangs, are on the corners of the priestly garment. And it's the covering of the priestly garment as a whole. So we are under the shadow of it because he is the fullness of it. He is the fullness of all things that are in order, the perfection of it. So we must be in step, in quote-unquote rhythmic step with our high priest. Otherwise, we're not under the covering anymore. So we see that in these letters, we are completely set apart, divided, have come out of, taking full refuge in Yah and Him as our support. the commands, the words, everything from the L to the Ta in its proper order is our place of refuge. He is all of it. So we are completely set apart and divided and come out of those things that are not of Him. And we have completely turned sin to the fullness of the revelation of Yah. This is our place of refuge. This is the place of refuge for the remnant. Moving on to verse 2, it reads, I cry out to the Most High Elohim, to El, who is perfecting all matters for me. We see this perfecting as Strong's 1584. Gamar, a primitive root, to end, in the sense of completion or failure. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it's 2072V. The V is complete. At the 2072, we see the action is to complete, a coming to an end in perfection or failure. So I'm immediately reminded of He has begun a good work in us, will perform it until the day of Messiah. And actually we see that verse in Philippians, who is the epitome of the assembly of brotherly affection. So He is perfecting this in us until that day. Here we see our Gam and our Mem and our Resh from right to left, the definitions of the letters there. We see a walk to the water of life. We know that we are to be walking together, tightly woven and bound together in the assembly of brotherly affection, so that we are on the walk to the water, back to the head of man, back to the river of life. Period. That's the way it is. It says in here, He's perfecting all matters for me. First I thought, oh, that must be Debar, or that must be something from Amal. And what I found out was it is experience the staff. All matters for me. He is perfecting these things in us who are bound together in the assembly of brotherly affection. We are, it's an ayin, which is the eye, to know, to understand, to see, to be intimate, to have knowledge. And it's a lam, which is the shepherd's staff. It means goad, lead, instructions, the shepherd himself. So this perfecting is coming from us, on this walk to the water together, experiencing the shepherd, coming to this deep, intimate knowledge of the shepherd, his instructions, his authority, the way he's goading us. This is the walk to the water, back to the head, is an experiencing of the staff of the shepherd himself, of all that he has instructed, of everything in its complete and proper order, all the way along as time continues to beat, to bring us into a deeper intimacy with Him. In verse 3, we read, He sends from the heavens and rescues. Yasha, He saves me. He reproaches the one who would swallow me up. Selah. Elohim sends forth His loving commitment and His truth. So we see here that those in the previous verses who are being bound together on this walk to the water to come back to the head, who are trusting and taking their refuge, and under the shadow of Thy wings, He sends forth from the Shemayim and saves us. He reproaches the one who would swallow us up. How does He do this? He sends forth His loving commitment and His truth. Where? Our hearts should be standing firm in those things which He has planted. So first, let's look at the word swallow. We see that it is in the Strong's at Hebrews 76:02, sa'af, a primitive root, to inhale eagerly, figuratively to cover, by implication to be angry, also to hasten. I thought the Brown Driver Briggs had some interesting definitions here. To gasp, pant after, long for, breathe heavily. to gasp, to pant after, to snuff up. We kind of see that on some more with desire, to thirst for one's blood, from actions of animals, figuratively, to crush, trample, trample upon, to crush. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, we see it at 1477 DV. The V is swallow. We see a second definition there, to draw water from a well, but we're going to focus on the swallow. We see at the D, the action is to swallow, a drawing in by swallowing as the snake swallows in its prey. At the 1477, we see the shin pei. The action is strike the concrete as serpent. The pictograph shin is a picture of the teeth. The pei is a picture of the mouth. Combined, these mean sharp teeth in the mouth. A serpent, a venomous snake, has sharp fangs in the mouth. Its prey is taken into the mouth, swallowed by drawing down into the belly. The belly of the beast, maybe? So we see those, again, who are taking their refuge in Yah, who have put their trust in Yah, who cry out unto the Most High. He sends from the heavens, Yasha, this salvation, this rescue, and reproaches the one who would try to swallow us up. We see the shin, the L, and the pei, the one who would try to destroy us by taking the place of El himself, acting as El himself, and swallow us down into his belly. How? By the words and the sound and what he's putting out into the air, swallow us right down into the belly of the beast. But Yah sends forth his loving commitment and his truth. We see truth on the right-hand side of the screen there. Down at the NF2, from right to left, an L, a Mem, a Nun, and a Ta. So between everything from the L to the Ta, we see the blood continues, or the likeness continues. Those of us, again, that have taken refuge in him, who cry unto Elohim, we're under the shadow of the wings of the priestly garment. He sends forth what will cause us to continue in the likeness of the seed, which comes from the proper order of everything, from the El to the Ta. And that's how he reproaches the enemy that would swallow us up, by allowing us to come into the depths and the intimacy of the truth, to keep us where? Out of the belly of the serpent, out of the belly of the beast. So where are these people, this remnant that the serpent is trying to swallow up into his belly? My being is in the midst of lions. This is why we need to not be drunk with wine in which there is unsavedness and debauchery and drunkenness, but we need to be sober, because we are in the midst of lions. I lie among those who breathe fire, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue is a sharp sword. So looking at the word, we are in the midst of them. It's Strong's H8432, from an unused root meaning to sever, a bisection, that is, by implication, the center. We see in the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it's at 1494 JN. The N is the middle, the J is middle. At the two-letter parent root, we see the Ta and the Kaf. The action is to bend the concrete as middle. The pictograph Ta is a picture of two crossed sticks representing a mark. The Kaf is a picture of a bent palm. Combined, these mean mark of the palm. The lines or marks in the center of the palm are formed by the bending of the palm. A bending in the middle, the center of something. So we see here that we are in the midst of people that are marked. They're marked unto what? Unto destruction. They're carrying the mark of the beast because they themselves are in the belly of the beast. We are in the midst of those carrying the mark of the beast, who have a mark on their forehead and are going to have a mark on their hand. They have secured themselves by bending their will, bending themselves to the beast, to his words, to what he says, to the sound that he resonates through the air. This is who we're in the midst of. But what do we find the remnant doing? Verse 5, Be exalted, O Elohim. You are exalted. Be exalted above the heavens. Let your esteem be above all the earth. We see that he is exalted above the heavens, his esteem above all the earth, because he created them both. This above is Strong's H5921. It's actually a word we've already seen. Properly the same as 5920. Above, over, upon, etc. Great variety of applications. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it's at 1357 AN. We see the N is above or upon. The A is raise. At the 1357, we see the ayin in the lamed. The action is work and the concrete is yoke. The pictograph ayin is a picture of the eye representing knowledge and experience. The lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff or yoke. Combined, these mean experience the staff. The yoke, a staff, is lifted over the shoulder and is attached to the oxen for performing the work. He is exalted above the heavens and esteemed above the earth, because all was made by him and through him and for him. All experience the staff and the instructions, the laws of Yah, the Torot of Yah. Whether they choose to obey it or not is a whole nother matter. So the adversary wants this exaltation and this esteem for himself. And we see that in the fact when he said to Yeshua, bow down and worship me. If he said it to Yeshua, he's certainly trying to say it to us as well. But we have seen just a few verses before that he performeth all for us. We are on a walk to the water, back to the head, and we experience the staff. This is that word. With his yoke on us, we are yoked to Yah, our Elohim, as the stronger ox. He is putting that all in order for us. Why? Because the remnant has taken refuge under the wings of the priestly garment. So, what's the enemy up to? In the midst of these lions, trying to get us to be swallowed into the belly of the beast right along with them? They have prepared a net for my footsteps. My being was bowed down. They have dug a pit before me. They fell into the midst of it. Selah. So they have prepared. Strong's H3559. A primitive root, properly to be erect. To set up in a great variety of applications. Establish, fix, prepare, apply. We see it at the ancient Hebrew lexicon 1244 JV. The V is firm. To set something firmly in place, either physically or with words. They don't care how they get you. They just want to get you. The enemy just wants you to do any little thing that would cause you to be doing something that would be under his mark, to start sucking you down into the belly of the beast. The action is firm, the concrete is a foundation. We need to be standing on the strong foundation. At the two-letter root, it's 1244, Kaf Nun. The action is stand, the concrete is root, and the abstract is sure. The pictograph Kaf is a picture of the open palm. The Nun is a picture of a seed. Combined, these mean opening of a seed. When the seed opens, the roots begin to form the base of the plant by going down into the soil. The plant itself rises out of the ground, forming the stalk of the plant. A tall tree can only stand tall and firm because of the strong root system which supports it. Taking refuge under the wings of the priestly garment is where we find our support. The roots need to go deep. So these ones that have prepared a net, they are firm in their words and their physical actions. They are preparing things to set a trap for us, to cause us to bend our will and secure ourselves in the seed of the adversary as opposed to in the seed of Yah. Because if they can get that seed to start to take root in any way, shape, or form inside of us, it will begin to grow and open, and that root will start to go deep. They do this through words. Words have a sound. Words have meaning. They also do it through physical actions. We've heard the English cliche, actions speak louder than words. When we rest on Shabbat, that speaks volumes to people. They may not like it, but it still speaks volumes. So we see they've prepared this net. This net is strong 75-68, a net for catching animals. In the Brown Driver Briggs, we see for catching, of judgment, of leaders leading people to sin as a trap for man. In the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, it's 1458 AN2. We see it's a resh, a shin, and a taw. It's a net. He does have it as an unknown connection to this root. The A is a resh shin. The concrete is head. It's resh. The net is to capture us to him trying to be El as the head. The action is inherent. The concrete is head. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of the tribe, chief, or family father. Is passed from generation to generation. The head grants permission for the betrothal of his daughters and determines the inheritor of the tribe or family, the head of a person, place, thing, or time. And so we see from right to left the resh, the shin, and the taw. So they have prepared this net, wanting to catch you by their words and actions, doing the same as their words and actions, which are completely opposite of El. And they want us to pass this along to the rest of the brethren to get them to come into the net. So the net is not just for us, but it's for those that we are bound together with. They want to keep as much disruption and chaos as opposed to order and Yah's perfectness, perfect sound, perfect frequency. It is a following of this other head, this net. One who is from the opposite seed that they're trying to secure us in, to open and take root. And it's going to lead to destruction, shin, and carrying the mark of the beast as opposed to being under the mark, the seal, the sign, the covenant of Yah Elohim. There's no inheritance in the kingdom. There's no betrothal to Yah. There's no marriage to Yah if we fall into this net that they are preparing for us and those around us. And what are they preparing this net for? They are preparing it for us every step of the way. As we are on this walk back to the water with the assembly of brotherly affection, every single moment in time, the earth actually, they said it rings like a bell. The earth is His and the fullness thereof. If we continue to walk together back to the water, following in his truth, getting underneath the shadow of his wings, the priestly garment, confiding in him, putting our trust in him as our refuge, completely divided and turned unto those things which he is revealing to us. Rest assured that the enemy is preparing a net for our footsteps. We need to be following after the sound, the word of the high priest. It's this rhythmic sounding of this bell that's on his garment. We need to be in perfect step with him. Otherwise, we're going to put our foot into the snare and the trap of the enemy. And in doing so, we are going to then speak those things and do those things. And we are going to draw others into the same trap with us. And this is why the heart of the remnant needs to be firm. Again, we see our word, firm. To set something firmly in place, either physically or with words. The action is to stand. Doing everything, therefore, to stand, stand. The concrete is root. We need to let it go deep down into the soil of our heart. And the abstract is sure. You can be for sure and for certain that our heart must be firm, because all matters flow from the heart. We better be fixed and firmed in how we're going to bend, which seed we're going to secure ourselves to. As a side note, this is actually the root line for the priest, the priesthood. If we're going to be in that first resurrection and be made kings and priests unto Yah Elohim, our heart must be firm in him. And our songs and our praise, psalms unto the brethren, need to come from an intent and a place in our heart that make melody unto the Master, that does not come from any other seed but his. We need to be singing, speaking those things to each other that are right, true, of good report, kodesh, lovely, and pure, because in Philippians it says those are the things we are to be thinking on. Why? Because that's what should be planted in our hearts, and in turn guiding our footsteps so we don't get caught in the snare, the net, the trap of the enemy. And this has to be done at every moment in time. We need to be in rhythm with the step of our high priest, because the earth is his and the fullness thereof, not the dysfunction thereof, the fullness thereof. When we speak anything else, sing anything else, do anything else, we send out this unfirmness, the non-firmness of this, the not standing erect in Yah. We send that out to the rest of the world, those that would hear it and those that would see it, because they're maybe even passing that along. We are affecting things down the line one way or the other, depending on the condition and the intent of our heart. Is it a melody unto the Master? So here in 57:7 we have our sing and our praise. Again, we have the remnant, those that are tightly bound together, that are pressed together by the right hand power of Elohim, headed back to the head of man, underneath the head of man, underneath the wings of his priestly garment. We have them singing and singing praise to each other, which in turn is a song and a praise unto Yahweh Elohim. This praise, we can see the first letter of it is a Zion. It's a weapon. It's food. We are producing good fruit that will remain, produce fruit, and fruit that will remain. But the enemy is also using this same weapon, but in a twisted form. And he's been doing that since the garden. There must have been a sound throughout the entire realm, I'll call it, when Eve plucked that fruit from the tree and ate it. That other word now that has disrupted everything that we are trying to get back to. He uses this. We see the concrete is music, the abstract is a melody. This can be a sound from a musical instrument or the singing that accompanies it. So not only does he use physical things and words, but we know that he's actually using sound and the waves. Let's just think about 5G for a minute. It's going to cause so much health and detrimental issues, but yet there's a sound that people have discovered in the past that can actually cure people from cancer. So it's all about what is in the air, and are we using this Zion, this weapon, to bring in the harvest or to destroy the harvest? Verses 9 through 11, we see, I praise you. I scattered the seed for those who are striving to enter the door to the revelation of you, so that when you appear, they can be like you. Different word for praise than we've looked at so far. I praise you among the peoples. Oh yeah, I sing to you among the nations. For your loving commitment is great up to the heavens, and your truth unto the clouds. Be exalted above the heavens, O Elohim. Let your esteem be above all the earth. So we are going to praise among the people. 59:71. A people as a congregated unit, specifically a tribe as those of Yisrael. Hence collectively troops are attendants, figuratively a flock. In the ancient Hebrew lexicon, it's 1358 AN. It's a people. The concrete at the A is people, a large group of people in one location, those who are with or near each other. At the 1358, again, we see the concrete as people. The ayin is a picture of an eye. The mem is a picture of the sea, representing a mass. Combined, these mean see a mass, a large group of people in one location. So we have this mass of people. Actually, we have a mass of people all around us. And we need to keep praising Yah among them, because some of those are specifically the tribe of Yisrael that would come out of her, my people. And they would come to this intimate knowledge, understanding of the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how of Yah in order, and they would be cleansed by the washing of the water of the word and the blood of Messiah. We need to keep going, no matter what. I sing to you among the nations. This is our word for plucking fruit from a tree. So who is this good fruit for? Because a tree is known by its fruit. Strong's 38:16. From an unused root, meaning to gather, a community. We see in the ancient Hebrew lexicon, the DC, it's people. At the D, people, a group of people bound together. At the two-letter root, we see the lam and the mem, which is lam, which is actually our letter lam. Action is to bind. The concrete is a staff. The pictograph lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff. The mem is a picture of water representing might. Combined, these mean staff of might. The shepherd always carried his staff for guiding, leading, and protecting the flock. The flock was bound to the shepherd, just like the remnant should be, as the staff was a sign of his authority over the sheep. He is above all the Shemaim and above all the Eretz and everything on it. He has authority over all. The yoke was a staff laid across the shoulders of 2 oxen. The oxen then were tied to the yokes at the neck, binding the 2 together. Well, that'd be a bad place to have a stiff neck and have that on. For plowing or pulling a cart, a people bound together, a wound bound with bandages. There's so much in there. I mean, I imagine that there's verses clicking in everybody's head right now. Your yoke is easy, your burden is light. We are yoked to Yah as the lead ox. We are yoked to each other 2 by 2. So those ones that are eating the fruit from the good tree, when we produce good fruit, fruit that remains, we're all gathered as a community and we're yoked together. We are following the shepherd, these ones that we are among. We are yoked to El and secured by the cleansing of the water, by the washing of the word. We are cleansed by the blood, and we sing of all things, who, what, when, where, why, of El. We sing to them, to the peoples as a whole, so that some would come out from amongst her. But there's those among us that we are bound to, that this fruit will produce fruit that remains. So I thought it was interesting that we see this word nations in Genesis when it's speaking of Rebekah. And Rebekah has 2 goy in her womb, 2 nations in her womb. Nations being an English word, but they are 2 different manner of people, 2 different nations of a type of people. So we are either yoked to the yoke of bondage, or we are yoked to each other, to the one whose yoke is easy and his burden is light. So let's go back and read the entirety of Psalm 51. And let's put it into context of the remnant that's praising and singing and making songs unto Yahweh by doing the same for their brethren. Show me favor, O Elohim, show me favor, for in you my being is taking refuge. And under the shadow of your wings, under your priestly garment, I take refuge. I have divided myself and come out from amongst her and turned myself to you as my revelation and all you are revealing until destruction passes. I cry out to the Most High Elohim, to El, who is perfecting, who is completing me on this walk to the water, back to the head of man, by beginning this good work in me that's performing it until the day of Messiah, with the assembly that I am walking to the water together with as we experience the staff of Yah. He sends from the heavens and Yasha me, saves me, he rescues me. He reproaches the one who would try to swallow me up into the belly of the beast and destroy me by trying to be above El, by the words of his mouth and what he sends out. Selah. Elohim sends forth his loving commitment and his truth to the one who seeks him for refuge. He sends everything from the El to the Ta in its proper order that would cause me to continue in his likeness under the shadow of the garment of the high priest. My being is in the midst of lions, in the midst of those who would like to rip my throat out, who are marked and secured and bent to another way. I lie in the midst of those. I lie among those who breathe fire, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue is a sharp sword. Be exalted, O Elohim, above the heavens. Let your esteem be above all the earth, because all the earth and all the Shemayim has experiences the staff of Yahweh Elohim, because all was made by him and through him and for him. He is above all these things, all of us. No enemy, no serpent can ever take his place and be above him. They have prepared a net for my footsteps. They are firm in trying to get me to bend away from Yah's will and secure myself in the seed of the enemy. By doing what? Laying a net, keeping me from the inheritance, from being underneath the priestly garment of the head of man, and destroy me by causing me to carry the mark of the beast instead of having an inheritance in the kingdom of Yah. So they prepared this net for my footsteps. When, moment after moment after moment, as the continual beating of time goes on, as we should be following in the footsteps of the high priest as the seed of Yahweh Elohim, they've laid a trap for us every step of the way. My heart is firm, O Elohim. My heart is firm. It is firm. It will not bend. It is completely bent and secured, my will, to the seed of Yah, that is taking root and going deep, causing the plant to grow up and produce good fruit. My heart is firm. I have set myself to the priesthood of Yahweh Elohim, and I sing as part of the remnant, pressed to the right hand power of Yah, with the others that are on the walk to the water with me, back to the head of man. I sing and I praise. This praise is our weapon. It is the full, ripe, mature fruit. I praise you among the peoples, among the mass of peoples, from which the tribe of Israel is scattered out there, O Yah. I sing to you among the nations, among those which I am bound to on this walk to the water, those I'm in the yoke with, underneath Yah Elohim, secured in the washing of the water of the word, cleansed by the blood of the Lamb. For your loving commitment is great up to the Shemayim, and your truth, everything in its perfect order that causes his likeness to continue unto the clouds. Be exalted above the heavens, O Elohim. Let your esteem be above all the earth. And we'll turn to Psalm 105 and just take a quick look at verses 1 through 4. Give thanks to Yah. Spread forth the seed. Scatter it, that would bring people through the door to the revelation of Yah who came to rescue us. That gives thanks unto Yah. Call upon his name. Make known. Bring others to the intimate knowledge so that they can experience the staff of the shepherd. Not as a mocking or an abuse of others, but from the position of being a remnant of Yahweh Elohim. Make known his deeds among all the mass of people. Sing as the remnant bound together to him. Sing psalms, sing praise, the good fruit that's on the tree. Speak of all his wonders. Make your boast shine forth through words and actions in his set-apart name, for his set-apart name. Let the hearts rejoice of those seeking Yah. Let the seed be firmly planted in them. that brings forth rejoicing. Seek Yah and his strength. Know your weapon and be secured in it. Seek his face always, continually, as this stretching out of time. We have a moment after a moment after a moment. But at some point, the time, the i.e. age, is going to change. This always or continually is a picture of the water at the door. The carpet was stretched out to cover the dirt floor of the tent. A bowl of water was located at the door so that one could wash his feet before stepping on the carpet. Nothing unclean is going into the tent to live continually in the presence of Yah Elohim, in the face of Yah Elohim. We must be cleansed before we can everything from head to toe. Peter had his feet cleaned. The rest of him was clean, but he needed to have his feet washed to be in the presence of Yah's face continually as a king and a priest after the order of our high priest. We need to be making these things known to the brethren, being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, every part and piece of him, to pass this along to others, so they too can produce fruit that remains. Let's turn to Revelation chapter 5. And I saw in the right hand of him who sat on the throne a scroll written inside and on the back, having been sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong messenger proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and loosens its seals?" And no one in the Shemayim or on the earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look at it, because he is above all things. Everything came by him and through him and for him, and these prophecies will be revealed by him, because this is the revelation of Yeshua, Messiah, not of anybody else. That is the staff that we're supposed to be experiencing. I wept much, because no one was found worthy to open and read the scroll or to look at it. And one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the lion," not the lion that's looking to rip our throat out, that we are currently living in the midst of, who is marked by the beast, but the lion of the tribe of Yehudah, the tribe which was said that no one had ever served at the altar from, the root of Dawid, the king and the priest, overcame to open the scroll and to loosen its seals. He was the root and the offspring. And I looked and saw in the midst of the throne and of the 4 living creatures, and in the midst of the elders, a lamb standing, having been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim sent out into all the earth. And he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of him sitting on the throne. And when he took the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each holding a harp, and golden bowls filled with the incense, which are the prayers of the set-apart ones, those who have been set apart, taking refuge under the priestly garment of Yah. And they sang a renewed song, saying, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, because you were slain and have redeemed us, have rescued us to Elohim by your blood out of every tribe and tongue and people and nation, and made us sovereigns and priests, because our hearts were firmly set on him, and we shall reign upon the earth. Our inheritance as a priesthood, as kings and priests, under the high priest and the righteous king, is an inheritance he is our inheritance. And I looked, and I heard the voice of many messengers around the throne, and the living creatures, and the elders, and the number of them was myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb, having been slain, to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and respect and esteem and blessing. That's quite the list. And every creature which is in the heaven, and on the earth, and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, I heard saying, to him sitting on the throne, and to the Lamb, be the blessing, and respect, and esteem, and might, forever and ever, because he is above all. And the 4 living creatures said, Amen. He is the great Amen. And the 24 elders fell down and bowed before him who lives forever and ever. There is a group of people who will be made sovereigns and priests under the King of righteousness, our high priest and the great prophet, and we shall reign upon the earth. We are the ones who will be singing this renewed song. We are singing it now as the whole earth, all of creation, groans out for him to just give this chaos and destruction and insanity. Let's just get to a place of rest again, the place where our inheritance is. And we need to be led by those who would be singing this song, not leading us into sin, not helping the enemy lay a net for our foot, as right now we are walking through time, waiting until the next age unto the day of Messiah. So in Revelation 5, we saw that they sang this song it's like, a sentence? And so it's more of just an overview of this renewed song. It's not something new, it's renewed. And we know these are kings and priests unto Yah. So what are they singing? They are singing the song of 2 Samuel 22. The song that he's singing is the song of the remnant. It's David, who was a king and a priest, because he ate from the table of the showbread from which no one was allowed to eat. It's his song of deliverance. It's our song of deliverance, the song of deliverance that the kings and priests in that day will be singing. And why we're not going to cover the entire psalm, we'll just, maybe at another time, we'll go through and pull that apart. We'll just read the first few verses. Then David spoke to Yah the words of this song on the day when Yah had delivered him from the hand of all his enemies. That will be at the time of the first resurrection for sure, for those that are kings and priests, and from the hand of Shaul. And he said, Yah is my rock and my stronghold and my deliverer. My Elohim is my rock. I take refuge in him. I take chasah in him. I have divided myself unto him and turned myself completely to him and his revelation. My shield and the horn of my deliverance, my high tower and my refuge. My Savior, you save me from violence. I call on Yah, the one to be praised, and I am saved from my enemies. So we saw in chapter 5 of Revelation that the ones that were singing the renewed song are singing the song of deliverance, the song that the king and the high priest sang of deliverance. We are singing it now because we are being made into sovereigns and priests, and we shall reign upon the earth. It's like saying our citizenship is in the Shemaim. Our names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life in the Shemaim. So what we're seeing there is we are singing this song now of the deliverance that's happening now and the deliverance that is going to be happening as we're made into kings and priests. So when we, and the thousands and thousands and myriads are the thousands and thousands, the same thousands and thousands that we see in Revelation 14. Let's read from verses 1 through 5. And I looked, and I saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion. Now we are there. And with him 144,000, thousands and thousands, having his Father's name written upon their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the Shemaim, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne, and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. It's not that we can't see this song. No one's able to know and understand the depths of the song that's being sung because it's played from a place that's in their heart that is planted firmly in Yah. They are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb, being filled with every piece, part, everything from the El to the Ta, every who, what, when, where, why, and how. The word that fills them completely with the Spirit has caused them to be first fruits unto Elohim, even also the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. There was truth. For they are blameless before the throne of Elohim. So we can't really learn the song of the 144,000 unless we really learn the song of the 144,000. It has to do with deep intimacy with Yah from a place in our heart where our intent is pure. We can't sing this song before the throne because we don't know the depths of it from being firmly planted in our hearts. So we can read this song all day long if we want, but we can't learn it unless we learn it. We can't learn it unless we are resonating as the voice of many waters with Yah, unless we have his name written upon our foreheads. And so in looking at this song, we see it's David's song of thanks. We've already covered it in Psalm 105. We saw part of it. We saw that it, at the end of verse 4 of Psalm 105, that we have sought his face, to be in his presence before him continually. Clean feet have been washed and crossed through the door. So we see it in 1 Chronicles 16, verse 8 through, I believe, 36 it is. I'm just going to read it. I'm not going to go into a lot. Just read it. And at another time, we'll come back and we'll pull this one apart. See if we really can have ears to hear, eyes to see, and a heart that understands the seed that is firmly planted in us. Give thanks to Yah. Call upon his name. Make known his deeds among the peoples. Sing to him, sing praise to him, speak of all his wonders. Do it now, because that is what you'll be doing in the millennial reign as kings and priests. Boast, shine forth through words and actions now, because you will be shining then in his set-apart name. Let the hearts, those where the seed is firmly planted, of those seeking, and at that point of those who have sought Yah, rejoice. Seek Yah and know your weapon. Seek his face continually. Remember his wonders which he has done, his signs and right rulings of his mouth. O seed of Yisrael, his servant, O children of Jacob, his chosen ones. He is Yah, our Elohim. His right rulings are on the earth. We will be telling this to the people during the millennial reigns. Remember his covenant forever, the word which he commanded for 1,000 generations, which he made with Abraham and his oath to Yitzhak, and he established it to Jacob for a law, to Israel an everlasting covenant, saying, to you I give the land of Canaan, the portion of your inheritance, because there will be people that will come into the land, that the land will be their inheritance, but Yah is the inheritance of the priesthood. When you were but few in number, few indeed, and sojourners in it, and they went up and down from one nation to another, from one reign to another people. He allowed no one to oppress them, and he reproved sovereigns for their sakes. Do not touch my anointed ones, and do my prophets no evil. Those who put the seed of Yah back into the house to secure them to the house. Sing to Yah, all the earth. Proclaim his deliverance from day to day. We will be proclaiming from day to day during the millennial reign. Verse 24, declare his esteem among the nations. We will be declaring his esteem. His wonders among all the peoples. Just as we're doing now, we will be doing then. For great is Yah, and greatly to be praised by a shining forth of our words and actions now, just as we absolutely will be shining forth through our words and actions then. He is to be feared above all mighty ones. For all the mighty ones of the peoples are a matter of naught, but Yah made the heavens. Excellency and splendor are before him. Strength and gladness are in his place. Ascribe to Yah, O clans of the peoples. Ascribe to Yah esteem and strength. Ascribe to Yah the esteem of his name. Bring an offering and come before him. Bow yourself to Yah in the splendor of set-apartness. The Spirit and the bride are saying, come. Tremble before him, all the earth. The world is also firmly established and immovable. Let the heavens rejoice, and the earth be glad. The heavens rejoice, and the earth be glad, because everything was made by him, and through him, and for him. And let them say among the nations, Yah shall reign. Yah does reign. Yah is reigning. Who was, and who is to come. Let the sea roar, and all that fills it. Let the field rejoice, and all that is in it. Let the trees of the forest then sing before Yah, for he shall come to judge the earth. And when the judgment is final, the entire earth will be circumcised, and the sky will roll up the heavens as a scroll. Give thanks to Yah, for he is good, for his loving commitment is everlasting. And say, save us, O Elohim of our deliverance. You have saved us at this point, when we're in front of the Lamb on Mount Zion, the Elohim of our deliverance. You have gathered us together and delivered us from the nations, to give thanks to your set-apart name, and to boast in your praise. Blessed be Yah Elohim of Yisrael, from everlasting to everlasting. And all the people said, Amen, because he is the great Amen, and praised Yah. I truly hope this has been a blessing to you and encouraged you to be found speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master.